African Action Network radio and television station. We are broadcasting from Pennsylvania, the United States of America. We want to say thank you for joining us. This is another edition of Inside Liberia, and we are happy that we are live. Whatever you're doing today, we want to say thank God that you are having life and that you have joined us in this broadcast. We want to again look at President.George Weah's travel outside of Liberia for a long period of time. And we also want to look at opposition political parties in Liberia. What role are these political parties playing in Liberia? These are the two issues we want to discuss. We also want to hear from Bone County, our correspondent in Bone County. We might be hearing from him and tell us what is going on in that part of Liberia. Primarily, we might be wanting to know what this MNG Gold company is about to do. There are a lot of information that they are about to close down. Well, we hear that there is not official from the county, but that's the information that's filtering in Bone County. And there are other issues surrounding workers in that part of Liberia. We want to also hear from our correspondent in Bone County. And he will give us a view of what Liberians are thinking about George Weah's long stay out of Liberia. These are the basic issues. So, yes, be our guest and share the video, make a comment. We will be glad that you be part of the discussion. Well, George Weah recently communicated with the President pro tempore, not the speaker. The letter that's in the public glare has to do with the letter that was sent to the President pro tempore of the Liberian Senate. And the letter primarily stated that he was informing the legislature that he was leaving Liberia on the 1st of November, that is this month. And since that time is going to a 1 month, the president is still out of Liberia. And so there are a lot of concerns from citizens within Liberia, both from Monrovia. We have heard from people from Grand Bassa County, and we might be hearing from Bone County this morning. We have also heard from Lofa County what the people are thinking. Generally, and we classified reports that we're getting from these respective counties, like George Weah's popularity or rating is actually dropping, meaning Liberians are not favoring George Weah to continue in the presidency. We had a show yesterday, and that was last night, and we had some permanent Liberian on the show also discussing that George Weah, in fact, should be impeached. Well, these are political issues. The Constitution of Liberia speaks of these things. And there are institutions that are responsible to take actions or to put into place a mechanism as to how, the president can be checked in making sure that Liberia is on course. So these are the issues we have on our agenda for today. But at this point, let's hear from our correspondent in Bone County. Ricardo, how are you?
I'm doing pretty well. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay. How is Bone County this morning? It says Sunday. Is it rainy? What is the condition like this morning?
We have a very fair weather here.
Okay.
That speaks that there is a sunny weather and the place is quite clean.
Okay. All right. Generally, tell us how's the living condition of Bone County citizens from your perspective.
Okay. Bongis, as you may be aware, they are kind-hearted and peaceful people. That's the first thing I love to say, because despite of some of the marginalizations, the huge rate of poverty, and of course the constrained situation they find themselves going through, they still continue to remain peaceful. So when it comes to maintaining the peace in this country, I can fairly say that they are one of the people. But all is not well, though they are smiling, but all is not actually well with them. But in the same vein, they continue to exhibit the respectability that is supposed to give, more especially in this democracy.
Okay, that's good. Again, we just saw Fokwaye is on, and probably Fokwaye, how are you? Welcome.
Thank you. I will see you.
Yeah, are you in Lofa or in
It's good of you back.
We were asking whether you are still in Monrovia or you are in
Well, I'm
Lofa
currently
County.
in New Bonjama community, in Bonjama City, Lofa County.
Okay. So, but just tell briefly how is Lofa County this morning?
I'm in
How the
Lofa. I'm in
people-
Bonjama City, Lofa. Well, currently in Lofa County, the citizens are engaged into harvesting. I mean, the new
Okay.
rice is in Lofa right now. So the issue that has to do with rice is no longer an issue here in Lofa because the citizens are now eating new rice.
Oh, that sounds good. That sounds good. So, are you saying Lofians can feed themselves? They don't depend on parboiled rice?
Yeah, that's exactly. Currently, as we speak here, rice is sold for $3,000, Liberian dollars.
You think
So
Lofians can feed other surrounding counties?
yes, from what I'm seeing here, the Lufians can feed the entire Liberia right now. It's just a
I think
matter of
that's an overstatement. That could
buttressing
be an
our farmers
overstatement.
here in the country. No, it's not. It is not. I mean, probably we need to take a tour around Lofa County so you can see the quantity of rice and especially the rice we're harvesting right now. What I'm saying to you that Lofa.
Okay, that sounds good, and that's a good news. Is it? Let me just ask you: is it a government production? Is it a private company, or is just individual farming?
Well, we have individuals farms, and we also have one farmer here called John Selman, who recently got some grants from the U.S. government. He's producing rice around the Senegal Road. He's doing extremely well. His
Okay.
name is John Selman. He's a private citizen, and recently he was buttressed by USAID, provided some around 1 million United States dollars as an assistant or a grant to him because he's doing well. And there are a lot of farmers here around here who also he's buying rice from and baking it. So you see only the Selma rice. He's producing rice here in Vonjima.
Okay, that's good. We will take our time to take a tour in local content, particularly so on this rice issue. We are aware about the rice situation in Liberia, but today we have our discussion point is President Weah's foreign travel and looking at opposition political parties. What Liberians in local counties saying from your perspective about George Weah's travel? What are you hearing from the people?
Well, I mean, basically when it is that kind of season in Liberia or in Lofa, it becomes very disheartening and sometimes people become very political. That is the issue that has to do with the road. The Lofa road is very deplorable. And so hearing about the president
Oh my God.
living in Liberia and
I would
traveling
advise, Fokai, I would
See,
advise,
power have to
almost
shift.
close to 7 weeks plus. Some Lufians asset better now.
no, it's not better. I hope that you could go off and come back. I mean, you are glitching a lot. But while you get said, we'll come back to you, Fokai. Let me hear from Ricardo. Ricardo, what is going on in Bon County? What is the latest news in Bon County?
Thank you, CEO. the issue, first of all, that is training now in the entire country, in the 15 political subdivisions, not just one county alone, has to do with the long stay of the head of state of Liberia, His Excellency Dr. George Weah, including other officials that he took along, particularly him. There have been a couple of mixed reactions within the corners and corridors of Bond County from level-minded citizens who have said there are a lot of things that they were promised. Take, for example, the extension of the CB Doma Hospital, which was just promised recently in his previous State of the Nation address, coupled with the market building that should have been constructed as well in Salada district. But these things remain an illusion. Talk about the Kokoya to St. John Road, which is a major problem. So their concern have been the president leaving the country to go for such a patriotic period of time out of his office. I think if he were here, he would have been on the back, though he's not solely responsible because there are ministries that are responsible for these things, the Ministry of Public Works. But now he's not here, and he should be the one to monitor and supervise all of these things to make sure that when this is not working, as I have promised the people, Honorable Public Works Minister, what is going on? But he's not here. Now, he said, according to them again, he said that he's gone to lobby since he got into power from the inception of his, going to the house, to the residency. Now, there have been a couple of trials, but they are yet to feel the impact. So, and then going for this period, they have actually disenchanted about it. Let me not lie to you. Okay. From their voices, from the tunes, from the expression on their faces, you know that indeed, you know what made it happen, you tell from the facial expression. Right. Yeah. So
George, we have trade from what we are hearing from the people in Bond County are not happy with his long stay outside of Liberia. But there are other issues in Bond County, like we're hearing about this MNG mining company or something. What is going on?
Yeah, MNG Gold.
Okay. MNG Gold. We are hearing that it's supposed to be closing and they have over 600 Liberians who are working. What is the situation back there?
Yeah, it also reaches to that particular point again, relative to like what I said, the people are kind of like disenchanted, they are dissatisfied with the process. Because first of all, since MNG Gold started operating in District Number 2, first of all, on the stewardship of Prince Kamumoy, now James Mekula Kole, he supervises, he's the representative, the current representative of that district. But there are a lot of things citizens of that region have complained of. Some of those, concession or the memorandum of understanding that it made with the local community people that indeed we're supposed to do so and so, they have not actually been totally living up to the tax. Okay. Those Liberians that have been working there, most often you will hear riot, you will hear this, because what? They are not been treated fairly. And when they talk, they say, oh, but we pay some money to your government officials. So we are not amenable to you people. The only people we think we can report to or to give them more courtesy is the lawmakers. And when the lawmakers come here, you can see them coming in their cars. The lawmakers come here. Government officials, they come here. They come and we give them money. So they don't expect us to get money from the sky to come build roads. All of those hazards, they're creating some environmental hazards. Okay. So the last time when we talk about it, it raised the same thing. Now today, we have heard that they are leaving. So how are they leaving us? And we are family people. I'm quoting the workers, the over 600 workers that are Liberians from not just Bond County, but from Grand Bassa, from other places, other counties that have come to seek livelihood for their families. So they are actually disenchanted. And now, scores of them, is an inside source that we got this information from. Scores of them are planning to have official statement written to the government that these people, because according to report, all of them, I mean, all of the equipments have already been packed and they are just set for the date to leave the area. So how are they leaving these people? So that's a major concern of these people.
Has there been any statement from the government officials like the superintendent, the development superintendent, and other officials or senators or representatives in the area? Have there been any of them making any comment?
Yes, we tried to connect with Madam Esther Yaman Walker, who happens to be the superintendent of Bong County. And when I talked to her, because normally I host her on the radio on my program. So when I called her, she said, if the people are leaving, I think it will reach to us. But for now, I cannot speak on anything. Maybe they are still preparing their writing document to give it to us. But I cannot speak to anything for now. I said, but this is what people are saying, people who are working with them, people who are inside of. She said, if they want to say it, maybe they want to politicize it because they want to pin the government black. So that was her statement. So she said, yeah.
Okay, so we'll keep our eyes on that information. I read a story in the independent newspaper, and then I got concerned too, because we're talking about 600 Liberians who are working for that company. So if that company closes down, with all of the difficult situation in Liberia, that will add to the problem. So we hope that senators
and CEO, just to come in briefly, I called.
Hello, Ricardo. Okay, I think Ricardo is having some interruption with his internet services, so we will get right back to him. But these are the issues. And this morning, as we said, we want to discuss George Weah's trip. And the letter you see on the platform is a communication that was written to Senator Albert Chie. He's the president pro tempore of the Liberian Senate, to inform that August body that George Weah was leaving on the 1st of this month. And today is the 20th day of November. So meaning the president has spent almost a month outside of Liberia, and Liberians are concerned. And the letter written to Albert Chie and the senators, first and foremost, I see this. I don't know whether there was a general letter written or a separate communication written to the Senate and the House of Representatives. The letter we have is to the Senate and not to the legislature. And we take cognizance that the legislature and the speaker is the leader of that august body. So generally, I think if this letter was intended for the entire legislature, it should have been addressed to the speaker and not the president pro tempore. But we do not know the inside information. We don't know what is going on inside the legislature. Probably they wrote a separate communication to the Senate and the House of Representatives. What is more important is the content of this communication. George Weah wrote a letter, and then George Weah left Liberia on the 1st day of November. We are aware that communications going to the House of Senate reaches the desk of the Secretary of the Senate, and then the communication is placed on the agenda of the Senate for discussion. And before then, the Senate takes a decision, and the decision is communicated with the chief executive as to whether they consented or they were in receipt of his communication. But to write a letter on the 1st of November, and why at the same time the president is leaving on the 1st of November, that raises an issue. And many presidents have seen, well, sometimes when Liberians are discussing this matter, people don't want to be realistic. They will understand their mistakes. And I think those who are in the office of the president, this is an error, and they need to admit to it. You cannot write a letter on the 1st of November informing that august body, meaning the Senate, and tell that the president is leaving. And in the same vein, I have been on the Executive Mansion website. The president arrived in the president arrived in Morocco on the 1st of November. The evening of the 1st of November, the president arrived there. And I was searching for the distance from Liberia to Morocco, and they was telling me about 3 days. But flight, probably special jets and those kinds of stuff, they was telling me it take fewer hours. But whatever that may be, the issue we have is the president writing a communication on the first and leaving on the first. Others are saying the president just needed to inform the House or the legislative branch of government. He need not to seek their consent. But if you say that, then we'll go to the financial aspect of the country. The president is leaving. His travel is on the basis of resources. It's not just his personal money. So the national legislature is the sole custodian or the distributor of the country money. So all of this information is just better for coordination purposes to do what is right. If the president received a letter of invitation to travel outside of Liberia, I don't think he received a letter on the 29th or the 30th of October. I guess the letter would have been written a long period before the 1st of November. So what stopped the president's office from writing the legislature earlier than the time of his departure? You cannot write the legislature on the 1st when you are leaving the country. And then, except if this was an issue of emergency, and even with that, there would have been a means of communication with the president. But this was not an emergency. If the international partner, anybody decided to write a president of a certain country, they were taking all of those things into consideration. No one would want to embarrass a certain president. Write the president the eve of a trip and expect the president to travel and go out there, right? So these are the issues that Liberians are discussing. Now, there are other factors that are surrounding this communication. A certain president, you leave a country for almost a month, that is an issue. I don't think this has happened to, I don't know whether there's any precedent in Liberia where a certain president had left a country for a long period of time. This is the reason why people are discussing this communication. And I think everybody, isn't like somebody hate George Weah or dislike him or what have you. Even if this was not George Weah, if this was President X, meaning any other president, people would have been concerned. Even George Weah, if he wasn't president, he would have been concerned. Except people who want to be deceptive, we don't want to take cognizance of these kinds of activities. So this is the issue, and Liberians are following this, and some people are even saying, coupled with other problems, that George Weah must be impeached. Now, when people talk about impeachment and media grouping, we would analyze this likewise and see whether this makes sense, whether it's within the purview of the Constitution, and how people can go about doing this kind of situation. It's not about his trip that people want him to be impeached, like we had Cabinet General here yesterday. These are people who are monitoring what is going on in Liberia. Cabinet General's feel that there's a broken down system. Everything is like broken down. And so for a certain president to leave and go and other things in violation of laws and all of those stuff, he believed very strongly that a lot of things has gone wrong and Liberia should not wait for elections. Many other persons disagree with Cabinet General. But Cabinet General was, his view. And that's one thing I want to say. We have seen other comments. People feel when people are discussing this thing, they are discussing it in the form of hatred. Like somebody even felt that Cabinet was responding because he was on some, one of the payback in the person's word or phrase. But these are not the case. The president's outside of Liberia. Corruption is an issue in Liberia. And there are other factors that Liberians are discussing. People are making proposals as to what can be happening. So that's the reason why we keep discussing these matters. So you have your comment, just make a comment. You want your contribution, we want to hear from you likewise. All right? Another issue we have is next year's election, the census. We asked Cabinet General yesterday, Justice General, and he said he has not even been counted. Nobody has gone to his house. And he's not the only person. Many other Liberians are saying up to this time, the census, whether it's going on or not, it's like nothing is happening. Liberians are not aware of what is going on. Yet and still, census is going on. They might come up with a census report to say these are the number of Liberians we have. How credible will such information be for international partners to rely on that? Then some Liberians feel no one should discuss these kind of matters. Census is a very important aspect. Now, the world has reached 8 billion. So I was jokingly telling somebody, I said, but then Liberia may not be part of that number because Liberians were not counted. Somebody said, okay, you know what? Probably they rely on previous census. The Liberia are not taking census for over, how many decades? So these are issues when you have a government and people are concerned. And that's the reason why these matters are being discussed. Okay, so we have Fabai back. Fabai, we were asking you, I hope your line is okay. Before we continue with our conversation, I was asking you how Liberians are feeling and how the political situation regarding George Weah's trip and the census and whatever information you have for us. How does it look for?
Well, basically, on the issue that has to do with the president long stay out of the country, there are many Lufians who are totally against it. I mean, Lufa being a country where President Weah didn't receive or perhaps won. I mean, he won 15, 14 counties with the exception of Lufa. So you have a lot of opposition here, but there are some people who are indeed in support of the president currently in Lufa. But the issue
Okay.
that I have to do is stay away. Is stay away is what people are discussing. There are some people who think the president being here, he is not in charge of the country.
Okay.
The country is being managed by a few elites, some of his friends, especially Mr. Samuel Twe. Some believe that he's the president of the country. So President.George Manuel, we are absent from the country, and Minister Twe is here. It's just the same. So his present and his action still the same. So there are some of them who think that his absence from the country is not any problem because he's not in charge of the country.
Wow. Now, but these are serious issues, and we hope that there will be education provided for Liberians, not just Lover County. There are governance processes that people follow. Even if George Weah, they are not feeling the impact of the current president, but I'm very sure that he's a president. He should be in Liberia and doing his work. If he's Oxa there, well, we got a report from, and I just want to say a little bit about that. The press secretary of the president wrote a long communication, and he emphasized that the president, there was a lot of misinformation about the president's trip, and that the opposition political party were misinforming Liberians as to the president's travel. He further said that the president traveled and he's meeting a lot of business people and foreign partners to see how they can help with Liberia in many ways. Well, we hope that the president will come and address himself to some of these concerns, because these long communications for many of us and for many persons who have spoken, they said these are just mad communications. And like someone, like the press secretary said, there is a commitment of $50 million investment package from the government of Hungary. All right, 25 scholarships for deserving Liberians from the government of Hungary. The transformation by Tangier Mediterranean Port Authority of the National Port Authority and flight from Liberia to Cape Verde and all of those stuff. He said these are some of the issues that the president is out there for. Now, I mean, it's easily said
And
and done.
just to also buttress what the press secretary said,
Yeah.
the Minister of Finance, Honorable Samuel Twe, on
Mm.
Saturday in
Yeah.
Bonjaman,
Mm.
also disclosed to the public that the president being away is to lobby to raise
Okay.
more money for the country because, and I posted a question to him that what about the foreign minister?
Okay.
What about you, finance minister? Why is the president going to lobby? So does it mean that you guys are not capable to go out there and convince our international partners? And he said if the president is seen by his colleagues, his peer leaders, they will be more supportive as compared to sending foreign minister or finance minister. So he also bragged about they have secured 120 million United States dollars that will be used for electricity and road. So The president is not just out there because he wants to be there, but he is raising more money for the government and the
Okay.
people of Liberia.
I think there are institutions responsible to checkmate the president, meaning the current legislators. They know whether the president will long stay is beneficial to the country or whether these are mere conversations or mere communications. They know that in the first place, the president did not do justice to the legislators. If the legislators don't act, Liberians within the legislators are just rubber stamp. You can't write the legislature on the very day you live in the country to go out of Liberia. That's the first mistake from the executive to the legislature. So I'm sure members of the legislature will themselves, address this issue. Is up to them. Liberians will only discuss these matters because they are the one that are being governed. So when things are going wrong, they discuss these things because they expect a certain pattern of governance. And there are people who are in the legislature. We know some of them, we respect them, and we hope that they themselves will take charge of this communication. They can say exactly whether or not they believe the president has raised over $120 million. Now, somebody was saying this when we talk about electricity, there are a lot of other electricity projects, okay, that's ongoing. We know that there's a lot of money that's being in the budget for electricity and all of this stuff. So if the president is getting additional money, it should not just be a mere conversation. It must be something real, tangible that Liberians can feel when the president comes. That money must be transmitted into the national coffers. And by that, Liberians should be informed. How? Maybe through the very central bank. Maybe people know that. And this is another thing. The legislature, there was a time in that country, legislators were concerned about the bank balance. The Auditor General, I remember once upon a time, I was even involved in such a communication. After the central bank governor could not send the bank statement to the General Auditing Commission, and there was a lot of issues of misinformation from the central bank, I remember the Auditor General mandated me to go with auditors to go and make sure we get the bank statement from the central bank. And the central bank governor did not get the information, and that was an issue. Whether this government is just someone to us saying it, and legislators believing it, or legislators themselves understanding the financial nature of the country, is up to them. We look up to the legislature. There is their responsibility as representative of the people to ask these questions, to discuss these matters. They should be discussing their own communication that the president wrote them. If it is right, that is say, well, we have no problem with the president's communication. They have press directors in the legislature. These people should take charge of the communication that is coming from the legislature. People should not be speculating. If you don't discuss it publicly, you will have people speculating as it's been done. So definitely, the president long stay, whether it's right, whether the president is lobbying, one of those things. Now, with all of those things, what makes Liberians more angry is the president is watching the World Cup. He's sitting in Qatar. Now, if the president is sitting in Qatar, you can't convince somebody that he's lobbying for money while he's sitting in Qatar. Right? Everybody's in Qatar right now is because of the game. You will meet your friends, you will discuss with your friends, and all of those things. Myself, the president having discussion with his friends. Good enough. But is that the purpose? Was there an official communication from business people to George Weah of meeting while he's in Qatar? I'm not sure any legislator can display a communication at press. The letter that is in the public view is just an empty communication. There's an attachment that said these are the invitations that came to the president. So Liberians are discussing. So these are the issues for which people will discuss.
So the paper also disclosed about invitation from FIFA to the president to attend the World Cup ceremony in Qatar.
So
that's what he said. He also provided that information that the president received an official invitation from FIFA to attend the World Cup.
Now let me say that there will be. It's not strange, George Weah, that his area. He's a footballer. He being the world best. It is likely that he was actually a communicator with. But what we're saying, if you write in the legislature to inform them, to seek their consent while you are traveling outside of Liberia, you must just do the most honorable thing to have earlier written those people. But you are leaving on the 1st of November. And then you're communicating with them on the 1st of November. That's an issue. It shouldn't be us saying it. The legislators themselves should be saying it. It's an issue.
I think CEO, most of the the legislators are not very focused on their workings in the legislature. Most of them are contemplating on their re-election for next year. So
Okay.
even it is very difficult at times for the legislature to reach quorum because some of their colleagues are in their district. Some of them are, I mean, they have not been performing to the expectation of their citizens. So it is now time that is trying to double up to put in more time. That's why you see most of the time when legislations are submitted
Mm.
to that particular body, they don't discuss it well because they are worried about what can they receive or get from the executive to buttress their campaign activities. So the legislature, I mean, one way or the other, can take some responsibility about how the president or the executive is proceeding because they are not doing what they're
That's
supposed
true.
to do.
That's true. And let me say that we all knew that Liberia has 6 years of governance, but after every 5 years, the last year to election, there's a lot of political activities. So people always, if the president did not perform in 5 years, no one expect them to perform in 6 years. So that is the issue. So what you said, you are correct. That's what legislators will do. Right now is that people are fighting for the re-election. So people want to go to that people at this dying minute, to build relationship with the people. But what will you do with governance? They're supposed to be in session every Tuesday and Thursdays. So if they're leaving all of these days right now, that means the government is almost like being paralyzed. So the issue right now, people will not be discussed. You are right. This is no scientific issue here. It's a practical thing that these people, beside the lawmakers who are right in Morovia, but somebody in River G will want to be in River G. And not possible for you to go in River G one day and return, or over the weekend to come back because of bar roads and all of those situations. So these are issues that Liberians are concerned about. But what's about the census? Have you been counted?
Well, the issue of the census, yeah, been counted
Okay.
here in Bonjuma, but there is no awareness. See you.
Okay.
Leaders supposed to at least carry on awareness in the local dialect on the community radio station.
Right. Right.
It's not happening here. So I mean, it's just like today you see one enumerator will come to one house and say, "Oh, I'm from Natures. We do it. I mean, the census process." And sometimes you have them going to communities. They cannot see people. People go on their farm because they
Wow.
are not aware of when they're supposed to be who.
But from your
So
from your from your analysis, do you think that would be the report from the population count from Lofa County would be realistic?
well, I mean, people are already insinuating that uh, this government already have a fixed number. That is the reason why Legit is not curious about carrying on any awareness
Okay.
because at the end of the day, they will present a number that the government wish to present. Because if the citizens are not aware of aware or census and the enumerators are going out in the communities and they are not seeing the citizens, I mean, it's obvious that the result may just not reflect
Okay.
on the actual number of citizens in Nigeria.
Those are concerns, and definitely we are concerned about the total population of Liberia that will be announced by Legis at the end of their census period. Even George Weah himself, I don't know when the census is going to end. You have any information when the census end?
I mean, I spoke to the head of lectures here in Lofa, Joseph Bryan.
Mhm.
He said
Mhm.
officially on the 2nd of December will be the final day for the conduct of the census on the 2nd of December.
There's a reason why I'm asking you, because if the census date final day will be on the 2nd, that suggests that even George Weah himself will not be counted. The people that travel with George Weah will not be counted because they will be out of Liberia up to the 18th of December. Now,
Mhm.
that would be a serious problem. So whether George Weah himself is even thinking about that.
So yeah, I was jokingly saying that at the Wallagis Intellectual Center in Virginia, and
Okay.
somebody said to me, the president left all his information at his house.
That's not.
So the
That's not.
numerator
That's
will
not. I
see
don't think. I don't think that's.
all the
Yeah, that was a joke. That was a joke. But I think. I mean, these are embarrassment for the country, and these are embarrassment for those who are leading. Even the national legislature herself should be concerned about these matters. It's not about George Weah. People think when you're talking these things, okay, you know what? People hate this man. It's not about hate. It's reality. George Weah should have taken the census very seriously. It doesn't cause George Weah to come back even for 2-3 days and go right back. He's the head of state. He and his family should be counted. What's about those people that he took along with him? Almost 60 persons. What happened to them? I mean, it's sad, and people discuss these things, and those who are in leadership, there's nothing wrong with telling George Weah this fight. George Weah could perform better if people were approaching him and telling just the strict, Mr. President, you can't be out of the country by this time. Like President Pro-Tempore could have taken a phone and talked to him, Mr. President, for purposes of coordination, I don't think you should be outside of Liberia by this time. Census is ongoing. Census ends on the 2nd. It wouldn't augur well for you to stay out of the country when census closes. The speaker should have done that to George Weah. Should have been honest and tell George Weah this. And George Weah probably will listen. There's nothing else. There's no extra thing that George Weah should be doing outside of Liberia that is more than this constitutional mandate that George Weah took oath to protect and uphold. It's not about whether you like him or not. It's a reality that George Weah should be part of the census. He's head of state. It's not an ordinary law that said census must be conducted. It is the Constitution of Liberia that said census must be conducted in every 10 years. And realizing that Liberia is not being counted for years, this should be an issue for George Weah to take very seriously. I don't think anybody should just think is okay, you know what? Two-way radio, they just like maybe another government opposition group. We're not believing that. These are hard fights. Not only George Weah, if Ellen Johnson Sirleaf herself would have done that, people would have lashed at her. Yeah. If there would be any president to kind of do this kind of a situation, nobody would be happy with it. Even George Weah himself would not be happy with it. But Liberian politics, alone you not feel what you, then you say you can defend anybody at all costs. The Akaras Gray, the how you call them, the Samuel Twe, they know these things. Someone to George Weah is out there lobbying for money and all of this stuff. It's not sufficient. The hard facts are that the law of the country must be protected, must be defended. By whom? George Weah in the first place, because he took oath to defend and protect. Now, let me say this. George Weah is president of Liberia. Let us assume that even Joe Biden is having an occasion and wrote and said, Mr. President, I want you to come and visit. Joe Biden will respect George Weah if he said, Mr. President, thank you for your invitation. However, I have a national constitutional duty that is ongoing, that is the national census. I will beg that you kindly defer this invitation to a later date because of the ongoing census, which I wouldn't want to abandon. George Weah will be respected because of that. Joe Biden wouldn't say, Mr. President, the president of Liberia did respect my invitation. Much more talk about somebody from Qatar wrote it, say, or FIFA, what have you. FIFA written George Weah, that letter is no importance as to what the Constitution mandated George Weah to do. These are the hard fight. Nobody is, it's not about CDC, ANC issue. It's about the Constitution of Liberia that everyone in that country is supposed to respect and uphold. And you get elected, you have that primary responsibility. So the Lutheran people are not alone to say, well, they have problem with George Weah. We spoke to people from Grand Basin. And if we take that, I wrote a piece of information, I said, if we take that as a survey census, a survey sample, George Weah popularity has reduced to below 50%. And they all need to take it very seriously because election is next year. Except the regular election, but if they do nothing, this trip alone has affected George Weah popularity to a greater extent. If they don't know it, they must take cue from what we're already saying. This is Liberia is a situation people don't rate the president, right? But if they were doing that, this is a major factor that has affected George Weah popularity in Liberia. The ordinary people, the only thing they say what George Weah want to watch is his son playing football.
Yeah.
So they don't have all of that thing. They were invited to go and do this. Liberian people don't get time. The news George Weah going to watch his son's football as a factor that affects George Weah popularity for the presidency in Liberia. They know it. Samuel knows that. He wouldn't want to speak about it, but he knows that. That's a factor. Akara Greg know that that's a factor. But they always pretend. Even the party chairman, Mullah Molu, knows that that's a factor that will affect their party. But they want to sit down and sometimes maybe, we can't talk this thing, also it will bring shame to us. But the big day is coming as election next year. They will have to work extra hard, except they want to cheat the election, which there will be a problem. Now, that brings us to the point of the chairman. There's a call from Flomoya. We're doing all that we can to bring Flomoya on this platform. Flomoya believes that the chairman of the election commission should be changed.
Mm-hmm.
And by that, we worried about, normally we think about the election commission to have sub-regional offices in the respective counties. Now, let me ask you in Lofa County, is there an electoral office in Lofa County that monitor day-to-day electoral activities, informing Liberians and doing what stuff? Is that a body in Lofa County? Vanyama, to be specific?
Well, currently, even as a media practitioner, I do not know who is the current magistrate in Lofa, because the last time the National Elections Commission took a decision to downsize all of the magistrates, and they said they're going to reapply. Since that time, we are yet to, get the names of those new magistrates for Lofa County, because we have lower and upper Lofa. So the upper Lofa office is always closed. The lower Lofa office is in Koba City. That office is always closed. So right now, we don't have any election activities going on. So most often, you only see the election commission office open when there's election, or maybe election day, or few days to election. Then you see that particular office open, either to do recruitment for staff. That's all. But currently,
the reason why I'm asking this question.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why I'm asking this question, because my own understanding about party politics, you should have an elections. You should have the election commission should not be a headquarter in Monrovia. Election commission is statutory, not statutory, and is an autonomous agency. One of those autonomous agencies that the Constitution mandates. So in actuality, there should be sub-offices of the National Election Commission to the respective 15 counties in Liberia. They should monitor all political parties' activities, not hearsay. When there's a political party conflict in Lofa County, the election commissioner, the election magistrate in Lofa County should be able to handle those matters in Lofa County. And if there's anything that needs to be forwarded, then before they take an appeal from that to the National Election Commission and do whatever they have to do. Likewise, the other respective counties. So if the people sit and they're not doing all those things, you don't have other the election commission be saying, well, this brings me again to the point of what Cabinet General said, that everything is broken down in Liberia. People are not cognizant of these things. And not just the election commission, but most government institutions should have sub-offices in the respective counties. You must have, if you have just per se 20 ministries and agencies, you must have 20 sub-branches in those counties respectively. And they must manage the affairs of the country. That's how it should be. So if those things are not happening, there's a fundamental problem with the CDC government. They need to be told. That's not how they're supposed to run the country. They're supposed to take charge of the country. Every Liberian in Liberia need to be governed by the government elected. So for the Flomoyan's issue, we're doing all that we can to talk with Flomoyan. And I was telling the manager that we need to even see whether we can even get. We'll do all that we can. Talk to the chairman. Maybe the chairperson and Flomoyan can meet and see how the both will discuss those things. You know, and we're also fighting. Maybe there are a few other persons I don't want to call name yet. We're having for consent from them to see whether we can have discussion, you know, on the election commission generally. Election commission is an activity that should be going from now to October next year for election. So everything's going on right now. If it is not done properly, don't expect
voter registration is expected for next month, December.
You see that? Then you don't have an office in those places.
There is no awareness going on. The offices are closed.
Can you imagine that? These are the issues that people are talking about. And when you talk, people feel like all is well. Okay, so we look up to those issues, and quickly let's look at opposition political parties. Do you see parties operating in Lofa County before we go to our comments?
Well, currently, there are 3 political parties. I mean, their offices are very active here in Lofa.
What are the parties?
Those political parties are, number 1, the Alternative National Congress, the ANC.
Okay.
The ANC is engaged in here.
Okay.
And then followed by the CDC.
Okay.
And the last is ACO. ACO is Lucini Kamara.
Yeah, ACO was Alaji Kurma, right?
Yeah, the late Alaji Kurma.
The late Alaji Kurma. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
that is not strange. Yeah. The party started from Lofa County.
The momentum probably of Lofa is a Unity Party strong.
What's about the Unity Party and the Liberty Party?
The Unity Party office is not active here. I mean, since the senatorial by-election, Kotima lost the election, that office is always closed. In fact, there was some.
But how do we just a minute? How do we then see Joseph Boaka, who is like to be the standard bearer of the Unity Party and hailing from Lofa County, and don't have a Unity Party headquarters in Lofa County? How do you think?
Well, it is not strange. I see you. This is always the case of the Unity Party. Probably it's because this is their county. This is Unity Party stronghold, Lofa County. So often you don't see them involved into major political activities or having an office open. Since the departure of Representative Mariam Fofana, who was always keeping the Unity Party office active in Bonjaman, the office is not active any longer. Unless if it is election time, that's the time you see Unity partisans coming in their numbers to clean the party headquarters. But for now, the office is closed. And even if you go there, you can do some photos there. You see grass all around the party HQ. So
we wish you would send us some photos later.
Yes, definitely we'll try to do that. But they are not into any other political activity. So it is the ANC, the ACO, and the CDC. They are the 3 political parties.
What's about the Liberty Party? I'm just concerned. Liberty Party. What's about Liberty Party?
Liberty Party, they have an office here, but the office is not active. This is the point.
Okay.
The chairman of the Liberty Party in Lofa County is one Samuel Bombo. They have this fight is moving into the counties too. So you have 2 chairmen. You have 2 chairs here. Senator Yombi Kanga Lawrence said the chairman of the Liberty Party here is Akwe Zobo. And Musa Hassan Belete have a chairman called Samuel Bombo. So you have 2 chairmen of the Liberty Party. So the other chairman says the other chairman can't go there. So the office is closed.
Okay, so we will definitely get to discuss this party issue because parties should not be a Moria-based parties, and that's why the Election Commission is supposed to make sure that these political parties are actual parties. If these parties don't have offices in the respective countries, how are you going to take part into election? But we will keep our eyes on these party activities, and we hope that we get some photos from you, both for those parties that I even maybe some conversation with some of these party leaders, so that we can probably play some of those voices onto a radio. But before we close, we have time is fast spent. Let's see some of the comments that we have here, and we probably want to still get a lot of comments. We're not going to read all of them. We have let me see what I can take a few. This one, Bala Kolia Zeze says, Liberia people are so much afraid because of the 14 years old war. This so-called president should have been replaced by now. That's a big one, Bala, but you take ownership of your own statement. We're only reading that here. Bobby B. Trump. Bobby, are you related to Donald Trump? Bobby Trump, Quitty Jr. says, to a relatively keep up the good work. Thank you, Bobby. And Bobby again, we don't. Okay, let me see this. Okay, this from Amos Y. Amos Y say the president's visit to Qatar is private and family related or social. Liberia will have zero benefits from that travel. At the same time, Liberia being affected economically. He is using state resources to the disadvantage of the vulnerable population. Wow, that's a big one too. Amos Y. And Dolo George say what? George Weah is unfit for office. Well, Dolo, you take responsibility of the statement. Joseph Toyi says, well, if they are neglecting the national issue of the country because of their personal re-election issue, then they are not worth for re-election. The Liberian people need to take note of that total failure of their part, total failure on their part, that total failure of their part on the national very important issue. Well, Joseph, we agree with you that the national legislature should be doing their work, not because of re-election. So anything contrary is not just good for the governance process in Liberia. Okay, we have Dolo again says, George Weah is a complete mistake for our country. Presidency requires education. Well, we agree with the constitution. Didn't say that, Adolo. Amos Wise says desire and growth works together. The president's desire to lead the country is one thing. To have the growing leadership is another thing. So we take all of those as a comment from our viewer. We want to say thanks to most of you who have made this comment. And time is fast spent. We wanted to ask Fokwaye for his final comment, but Fokwaye has left. Well, this is 2A Radio, and it is the African Action Network radio and television station. We are happy to be here this morning. And we were discussing George Weah trip outside of Liberia, the National Elections Commission, opposition political parties, how is Liberia doing in the respective counties. We're going to keep following this development. These are trading events. President travel is still ongoing. He's still out of Liberia. Census is ending on the 2nd from what we are hearing, and we're going to follow that through to know how many Liberia's standing population when the census result shall be out. Okay. Having said those, this is how we want to come to the close of today's program. This is 2A Radio. We want to say thank you for your comments, for viewing. And we want to ask you to make a comment and share the video. It is important that we share our ideas so that Liberia cannot be better if you are silent. Be part of the discussion. And actors, leaders, sometimes they need to know how you are thinking. And this is why we are out every morning to bring you basic information that can help you to inform yourself and to challenge your leaders. This is how we come to the close of this, and to the manager who is in control, Patient Blair Ato, we want to say thank you so much for being there. And that's how we come to the close of this edition. This is 2A Radio, and I'm James Jensen.